government of everything.
It's an excellent example of democratic style decision-making.
Thank you very much.
And so what can we do as a collective about climate change? We can change laws.
No, he's making it. No.
We can change laws, we can change economic incentives. So we can do something like making it a little more expensive to drive your car in central London. Some very wise people have pointed out to me that happened a while ago.
Yep.
And I've come back to London and found that the downtown is much less congested with cars. The air is much fresher than when I lived here 20 years ago. And so that's an excellent example of what we can do. And I think that's about it. I'd like to thank you all again for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you for coming.
For respectful
Thank you very much.
and
Welcome.
humorous discussion.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Very true, very true.
Yes. And then you then and then Mo, okay? You and then Mo. Right. All right. Well, you get your say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming.
Great contribution to this park. Thank you, and your children.
You followed in a step.
No,
You
no,
followed
your
in a
children,
steps of
sorry.
some very famous people. So
Your,
thank you very much. Well done.
Yes, thank you. I think
Thank you.
this gentleman brought up the point earlier, saying we've got to lean upon our governments to help with the change of this world. This is absolutely ridiculous notion, because the governments don't address you as having any power or respect. Governments are not owned by you. You have no influence over the government. Our governments, like in America and in Europe, are owned by the super wealthy corporations, which have decided to cut our police numbers, which have decided to put more air pollution into our environment, because they profit from the cars. They've done that, they profit from that. They must own our government, because if they didn't own our government, then we'd have proper police numbers in this country. If we did own our country, government, then we'd also we would have decided that air pollution would end today. That's what the world would look like if we actually owned our democracy. And the point regarding antibiotics, the reason, which was very rightly brought up by the way, but slightly inaccurate on your behalf, the reason why we have a problem with the antibiotics right now is because the capitalists who own our farming industry, have done such a terrible job. The only way the animals can survive in their horrific industrialised, mechanised farming structure is with the use of mass antibiotics. The majority of those creatures would die if it was not for mass use of antibiotics. That's why we've got the problem with the antibiotics. Human beings need antibiotics because otherwise we become very, very ill indeed. It's actually important, but it's not the human being taking it's the problem, it's the people who own our society. They've deemed that their inefficient and disgusting farming methods are much more important than human beings, which should go without saying. I mean, they hate you. So, the antibiotics, the lack of police numbers, the air pollution, the war. Yes, we must look to government to change things. But if we are not respected by government at any level, then nothing will ever change. We must vote for a democracy that is an actual democracy, that actually respects human beings and their rights. Last point.
Okay, one more point, yeah.
Because if you don't have that, then you're going to have the world we have today.
Yeah.
And that world is sick.
Right.
Thank you very much for the moment
Do you want to
for
respond
speaking.
to him? Because this gentleman wants to say one more
Thank
word.
you very
no,
much.
you can go
And
ahead.
then, right, let this gentleman and
You
then
can
you.
go
then
ahead,
You.
you can
Yeah,
go.
then you, of course, yeah. Absolutely.
I just want to
Him and then you,
answer.
yeah.
I just want to answer with due respect. You are right and you are wrong at the same time. And by the way, nobody is totally right and nobody is totally wrong. Eh? But you are right that governments today are owned by international corporations. But if we say so, there is two reactions to it. Either I resign and say, okay, I cannot do anything against those guys, so just give up, or I can do something about it. And in the democracy, in which I firmly believe, there is a way to do something about it. And this is called elections. And guys, if a party loses, for example, 1,200 councillors in an election, that says something. And there is a reaction. And if we as consumers would boycott something, some products from companies we are not happy with, that gives a reaction. I remember very vividly when we had these price wars on gas stations. And in the country I come from, which has a reputation that people are disciplined, I remember when one gas station put the prices up because they wanted to have more profit, nobody took any petrol anymore from this gas station. 2 days later, the price went down. You know, these are things we can do as individuals.
Right, I'm just going to say something from the chair.
Yes.
I'm going to throw something in for another debate here, just the same, following the same topic. Question. Really radical question here. Should we rip down the borders of every nation in the world and all come together in a common denominator as humanity? Would that solve it?
Come take away everything from your humanity. Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to IC3.
You should keep quiet like I keep quiet when
I'm not
everybody
interested
agrees.
about my chairman style. We're doing it this way. That's the way it's going to be.
Well, I'm going away.
Bye now. Bye now. Speak.
No, it's not intolerance. There are special regulations we have agreed
Okay, never
upon.
mind. Well, you'll be having speaking for a
Special
long time.
regulation you have agreed
Okay,
upon.
gentlemen,
And the regulation was that one speak, the other
I'm
one
giving you the
listen.
opportunity
And
to
I
speak.
listen to everybody.